Chris Carter totally rips Skip Bayless to shreds. You won't believe what Chris Carter had to say when he sat down on the podcast speaking about his time that he was on First Take with Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith. He totally went in on Skip Bayless and exposed him for everything for what he is. But before we get off to today's podcast, tell a friend to tell a friend. Like I've told you guys, what don't come out in the wash will come out in the rinse. Now, you know that Skip Bayless' last days on Undisputed was last week. And now Chris Carter, the Hall of Fame wide receiver from the Philadelphia Eagles, Minnesota Vikings, he finally came out and has exposed Skip Bayless for who he really is. Now, some of the things that Chris Carter had to say, man, he lit fire off into Skip Bayless, man, and you won't believe some of the things that he had to say. Now, he sat down in a lengthy conversation on a podcast expressing how he felt about Skip Bayless. Now, we all know that Skip Bayless has run on Undisputed for 8 years with Shannon Sharpe, and Chris Carter basically was saying that, Skip was, jealous of Shannon Sharpe, man, because Shannon Sharpe, he was the commodity. He brought a big following with him, and Skip couldn't see past that. And the Fox Undisputed crew and the people in upper management, they wanted to back Skip Bayless up instead of really promoting Shannon Sharpe. Now, Shannon Sharpe left Undisputed, and now he's with ESPN First Take with Stephen A. Smith, and you see what the numbers is doing over there. But Chris Carter had some things he had to say about Skip Bayless. He had some things he wanted to get off his chest, man. And, we haven't seen Chris Carter in the news here lately. I don't know if, the guy that brought him on the podcast was trying to make Chris Carter relevant again. But Chris Carter, you know what his credentials hold. He's a Hall of Fame receiver. He's in the Hall of Fame. He got the gold jacket. But he expressed his feelings about Skip Bayless, and he totally ripped Skip Bayless a new asshole in an exclusive sit-down interview on a podcast. I just want you to take a listen to what he said about Skip Bayless. This is just some of the things that he said about Skip Bayless, but there's video and audio out there of the whole conversation that he did talk about Skip Bayless. But I'm just going to play a clip on what he wanted to do to Skip Bayless on his time when he was on First Take with Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless at the time. So take a listen.
Overwhelm them with his success and his following. Because Shannon comes with the following.
He's just blowing up.
So Stephen A. gets along with most every athlete. So it was just a matter of who was going to be the right athlete to be in there with Stephen A. going back and forth in conversations, because that's really the height of the show, to have someone who you respect, because that's the thing. A number of years ago, I was on a show with Stephen A. and Skip Bayless. And
both of them?
Yeah, both of them, on their show.
Yeah.
I was working at ESPN doing NFL. I would do Mike Greenberg after doing my NFL stuff, and then I would come on there because Stephen A. and I were friends. I didn't know Skip personally, and I'm going to be honest with you, Skip Bayless is not one of my favorite people.
I can imagine.
Okay. So I'm on there doing the show. I do the show and everything, and then all of a sudden, this is when the Tebow phenomenon was going on. And he was a huge Tim Tebow guy. This guy is this.
I remember it.
Okay.
Oh.
So I come on there on a Monday, and, we're trading barbs and everything. We go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then I just level set it and was like, listen, if throwing the football is important in the NFL, Tim Tebow will never be a starting quarterback in the NFL.
Yep.
So he got defensive, and then he came back and said, well, that's why you didn't win a Super Bowl. Okay.
So what'd you say?
Which got nothing to do with nothing.
Agreed.
We went to commercial break.
So you didn't say nothing before commercial. He just said his.
No.
Okay. Good man.
I took my earpiece out, and I told him, I'll never be on your show again.
Yeah.
And if you ever say anything like that to me again, I'll punch you right in the fucking face.
Good for you.
Now, you heard what Chris Carter had to say. Now, that ain't all what he said. He went on in full details to talk about, after, Shannon Sharp left Undisputed, where he tried to put the guys together, where he had Keyshawn Johnson, Richard Sherman, Michael Irvin, Lil Wayne, and now, he had Paul Pierce. And he was just trying to make that show relevant. Because Chris Carter went on to talk about the black culture. He's talking about Skip started wearing gold chains. He started wearing Jordans. He was saying that Lil Wayne is his best friend. And Chris Carter said, nah, Lil Wayne was not his best friend. He didn't know Lil Wayne like that. So that was like almost like a propaganda, almost like a prop to make Skip relevant. And I was telling people that. That was my own personal opinion. It's like Skip is trying too hard to appease the black culture, because you know how Skip can do. He has some racial undertones, man, and he will push a button. Now, you saw the big blow up between him and Shannon Sharp when he got on the defensive, when Shannon Sharp said something about Tom Brady, and then that's when things started unraveling for Undisputed. And that's when the last straw broke. He took it personal, started taking personal shots at Shannon Sharp, and it seems like in this same situation, he did that with Chris Carter when, Skip Bayless was talking about Tim Tebow. He was glorifying Tim Tebow. And all Chris Carter said, he said, if you believe in Tim Tebow throwing that football, he will never be a starting quarterback in the NFL. And what Skip did, he took it personal. So this is not just one person saying this about Skip. A lot of people are starting to come out talking about the way Skip Bayless operates. Then he went on to say about with Stephen A. He says Stephen A. is legit. Stephen A. knows a lot of people, and he's the real deal. But he did go on to say that Stephen A. and Skip was able to pick their own subjects that they wanted to talk about, and they would take a side that would benefit them to make them look like they won every debate. Now, that's something that's, kind of crazy to hear from Chris Carter to expose them that way. But he said that, Stephen A. Smith, he's legit in the business. He's the real deal. But he didn't go on to say that about, Skip Bayless. He said Skip Bayless is one of his least favorite people. And a lot of people have been saying this about Skip Bayless. Skip Bayless been running people off because what Chris Carter said about Shannon Sharp. He said Shannon Sharp was the hot commodity. He was jealous of Shannon Sharp because Shannon Sharp brought a huge following over, but Fox Sports and Undisputed did not want to back that. And you see how that show went into shambles when Shannon Sharp left, when he decided to go to ESPN with Stephen A. Smith. You know how the numbers picked up for ESPN, and you see what happened to Undisputed. That show went into shambles, and now Skip Bayless is out of a job. But he never addressed it the day that he left on his final show. He just said he can't wait for what's in store, so he got some things in the work. But, Chris Carter, for him to come out and say them things about Skip Bayless, I want to hear what Skip Bayless got to say. In situations like this, Skip Bayless really don't respond to stuff like this. Now, if Chris Carter would have said this about Jason Whitlock, Jason Whitlock would have fired back. But I don't think Skip Bayless is the type of person that's going to respond to these accusations and the things that Chris Carter said. But we'll wait and see, man. But like I said, man, I've told people plenty of times, man, Skip Bayless is not who you think he is, man. And I think Chris Carter really exposed him. So if you want to go see the full entire, thing that Chris Carter said, the whole audio, go look up Chris Carter against Skip Bayless, and the whole clip will come up, and you'll hear what Chris Carter said in lengthy detail. But he said, man, he wanted to punch Skip Bayless in the face. Now, we heard them words uttered before, and them words was uttered by Shannon Sharp. Shannon Sharp said that he wanted to go to blows with Skip Bayless. So To hear it from one Hall of Famer and then hear it from the other Hall of Famer, where there's smoke, there's fire. But you guys, let me know what y'all think. Post your comments down below. I love to hear from you. And this is going to wrap up another episode of the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. I'm your host and the man behind the mic, K-Sap. We're going to catch you on the next one. Deuces. And remember, on your way out the door before you put your shoes on, do me a favor. Give this video a thumbs up.
Thanks for listening to the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share on all major platforms.
That's all, folks.